What are some personal goals to set for yourself? If you've ever been overwhelmed by all the things you want to accomplish, this video will help you identify which goals will be the best for helping you have the kind of future that you want. We'll start off by identifying the best goals for you. Then we'll identify the 6 areas of your personal life where you may want to set goals. By the end of this video, you're going to have the tools you need to start not only identifying, but also accomplishing your specific goals. Let's get started. So I want you to start off by looking at the different areas of your life that you're concerned about or that you care about deeply. If you had to set just 1 to 2 goals, what would they be? Do you want to live to see your grandchildren or great-grandchildren get married? Do you want to grow your business to 3 times its current size? What's necessary to achieve those goals? So again, start off with those big areas of your life you care about, identify what it is you want to accomplish, and then we have to start working backwards by seeing what we need to do now so that we can wind up at that destination. Many of us have both personal and professional goals. So I'm going to share a very personal story for me that kind of shows how my goals started to overlap. So in a past life, a little bit more than a decade and a half ago, I was a revenue manager for a hotel company. Now, when you work for hotels, if you're in any type of management role, you're probably familiar with the title of manager on duty. All that means is on the weekends or certain days where the general manager of the property is off from work, there's someone who always has to be the acting general manager. So if you're in a management position at the hotel, that rotates. So normally there's going to be at least 1 weekend, maybe 2 weekends in the year where you're basically shut into the hotel the entire weekend and you're the acting general manager. And so if anyone needs you, if there's things that have to be done with the cash in the building, they come to you because you're acting general manager. So I'll never forget, here I was in my early 20s, I'm the manager on duty and I'm sitting in my room and I'm a little blue. Because while I was good at my job, I loved my staff, I didn't feel like my talents were really being utilized. I felt like there was a little bit more for me than where I was at the moment. And so I did something that was very interesting. I grabbed a piece of paper, and for the first time ever that I can think of as an adult, I thought to myself, if I could do anything I wanted to do, what would it be? And I just allowed myself to dream, which for me wasn't something I allowed myself to do very often at this point in time. And I wrote down 3 things. Number 1, I wanted to help small business owners grow their businesses. Number 2, I wanted to write a book. And number 3, I wanted to travel around speaking and helping people. Now, I can't begin to tell you how far away these 3 things were from my current reality. Anyone who had seen that list at the time would have burst out laughing. I almost laughed at myself when I saw this list, but I allowed myself to kind of dream out loud. And what was interesting is that the reason I wanted these things is because I wanted a different lifestyle. I know I wanted to have more flexibility, to be able to work from home and do what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to help people, so that accomplished something on the personal side, but it would allow me to also do this professionally. And the speaking was actually building on a talent that I already had. So all of these things were kind of my business and personal goals rolled up into one. Now, interestingly enough, I've since accomplished all those things, but it was all starting with allowing myself to write out a possibility for what I wanted in the future. And then from there, I started creating smaller goals that I used to work towards this potential future, which I've now achieved. So let's look at some of the areas of your personal life that you can set goals in. Because professionally, we don't tend to have a problem. People tend to want to be able to be better at their jobs, earn a little bit more, get certain promotions. But when it comes to our personal lives, that's where things tend to get a little bit fuzzier. So if we think about the personal areas where we could actually set goals, those would include health and fitness, education, finance, relationships, personal development, and your hobbies or interests. Oftentimes people leave off that last one, but we're definitely multifaceted people, so we have to leave room for us to have fun. And there's probably some cool things that you've wanted to do that you just haven't allowed yourself to do yet. And so when it comes time to setting goals to achieve those ultimate things, like remember at the beginning of the video where we talked about seeing your grandchildren and great-grandchildren, things like that, or growing your business 3 times, oftentimes we have to identify areas in our personal lives that we have to bring into alignment. So we have to set goals in these places. If you want to see your grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, obviously we have to spend some time in the area of health and fitness. But we might also need to spend some time in finance as well to ensure that we're in a financial space where we can actually go out and take vacations or send for our grandchildren and great-grandchildren and attend their weddings and other ceremonies. We might want to spend some time in that relationship area because maybe our relationship with our children isn't the best, and so we have to repair those so that we can even have a relationship with our grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren as they get older. We're going to pause for a moment, and in case you're wondering why it's important to set goals in the first place, I want to encourage you to watch my video, Why is it important to set goals for yourself? Now, back to the tips. As you're setting the goals in the different areas of your life that we've identified, those 6 areas, it's important that you not overload yourself and try to set too many goals at once. You probably want to start with 1 to 2 that'll lead you closer to those big, huge life goals, right? And then once you accomplish those, you can add a little more. Some of these goals are continuous, like for instance, health and fitness. These are things that we continuously have to work on. The older we get, the more attention we have to pay. Same thing with relationships. It's not really a set it and forget it situation. People grow and they have the potential to grow apart. And so these are things that we have to stay on top of. We can't just put a little bit of attention into them and then let them go away. But setting goals is much like juggling. You want to start with 1 or 2, just like you'd start with 1 or 2 balls. So maybe you start with 1 ball and you can do that one. As you can tell by my hand motions, I'm obviously not a juggler. Then after that, you might get 2 balls. You're doing great. Then you throw in a 3rd. So don't start off setting 7 different goals from the beginning. Maybe set off with 1 or 2 in one of those 6 categories, and then add on from there as you develop long-term habits in terms of achieving those goals. But one of the things I have to communicate with you, it is so important, do not overwhelm yourself. There's 2 things that we're trying to avoid specifically. Number 1 is called cognitive overload. Now, the human brain is not a machine, but there are some things that we have in common with machines. Cognitive overload is the process of when we're learning so many things at once, so much new information is coming our way, we're trying to integrate so many new things that we're basically overloading our brains. In the same way that if you're taking up too much memory on a computer at one time, you keep opening more and more things, opening more applications, there's a period where it's going to slow down. It might even shut down. Well, as humans, we don't typically shut down, although it's possible. But we want to ensure that we're not setting so many goals that we're experiencing cognitive overload. The other thing we're trying to avoid is self-control depletion. So we all know people that have excellent self-control. We know that. But usually people have areas of their lives where they cheat. So they might be good in this area, but not this area. We can probably think of historical figures and people who we admire who are great at a particular thing. They show so much discipline, but there's another area of their life that's kind of sloppy. You're like, oh, that's not so great. We see this with a lot of historic figures that did incredible things, but maybe their moral compass wasn't so great, or maybe they were a little sloppy on the home front, whatever that looks like. No judgment, but making sure that we're understanding this is a very human condition. And so self-control depletion means that we only have so many resources that we can dedicate to self-control. And if we're trying to control too many things at once, at some point we're just going to break and go, ah. And then you're going to go against all of these goals that you set and lose all ability to resist temptation. So we want to make sure that we're avoiding that as well. So I'll go back to that early example that I gave of when I was manager on duty and I allowed myself to kind of dream of something different. Well, the day did come where I left my job and I decided to pursue owning a business full-time. And this was right before I was speaking. So at first I started off with a marketing firm that then grew into the speaking. But when it came to setting goals, I didn't know what I didn't know. But I knew that I didn't know a lot, right, when it came to actually owning and starting a business. And so what I did was I would go to the library, starting on the second day that I quit my job. I went to the library, I checked out about 3 books, and they'd be on like sales. And I would just devour them, and I'd make notes, and I'd tweak little things, and I'd start to create a plan. Then I'd go back, after I finished those books, in a few days, I'd check out books on marketing. I did this for a couple of years where I just kept adding more and building more and researching more and implementing as I was getting more information. There's no way I could have taken all that on at one time, setting goals in different areas of my business and doing them all at once. I had to juggle where I took one subject at a time and tweaked and then added another one. So that's how we have to look at our goals. We have to make sure that we're not overwhelming ourselves, but that we're setting ourselves up for success. Speaking of setting ourselves up for success, I do have a free gift for you. If you look into the description of this video, you're going to notice that there's a link to download a Future Ready Playbook. This playbook is chock full of all kinds of activities that will help you think like a futurist so that you're being strategic in how you plan your future, whether we're talking about personal goals, professional goals, or even organizational goals. So if you haven't already downloaded your copy, go ahead and do it right now. What are you waiting for?